Mark, I'm reading a statement by Craig Hembrow, John Hembrow's son, who's your nephew. He says, I believe that my father has been manipulating Mark, Gary Tansley, Hans de Vries, and anyone else connected with the movie The Real World to his best advantage and exploiting Mark's vulnerable situation. This is damning evidence, and it's a statement which was made in 2003. So you've been gathering statements and documents.
Well, there was a lot of statements made in 2003. That's one of them, and he's absolutely correct. And like all the other statements and all the people that were affected and, you know, that really affected their lives, that were involved in everything that went on.
And Craig says that Mark was in a vulnerable situation. What was that? What was happening for you in 2003?
Well, I was with my three girls, being a Mr. Mum at the time, looking after my three girls and running this show, you know, and done all the preparation, and I was vulnerable, and they hadn't paid everybody, and you know, the realities were is that it was just a total fiasco for me.
So this amazing project was
the sad bit was that it seemed to be all vindictive, and it was very, very nasty. I'd never understood why there was so much. You know, apparently Judy Hembrow, I'd heard later, had a huge hatred for me as well as my mum. That came from family as well. They could never work out why. Well, I never worked out why. I was always kind to them, and I'd never had a problem. I didn't see a lot of them, but as I said, why I was vulnerable? Well, my girls. Well, some of it's in the document. At that time in 2003, there's another bit there.
Yeah.
Put all this down in front of me. Thank you. My girls, my daughters were 8, 10, and 12. And I had been put on the family pension. Well, my career and everything in my life, I was at the top of my game then. I didn't have to be on any pensions up until then. But the fact of the matter is that we had contracts that were around 200,000 straight off that needed to be paid to me after I signed everything in, and none of it came. And it was just, you know, it was just difficult and unbelievable, really. It was cruel. Anyway, below are photos of the girls in 2003, taken at this time when we were under assault, abuse, and put on the street. The losses to my family and future were catastrophic. They didn't even give my film back. This was significant damage, as how could I now explain this to the FSC, who were going to back it in the first place? We didn't own it anymore. I didn't own it. Also, I talked up John Hembrow, my big brother, to everyone here and everyone across the country and overseas in the film industry. I had to now go back to them and tell them what he had done. I was overwhelmed with shame. How could I tell these people that someone had done this to us all, let alone the person, that being my brother? Meanwhile, there's the girls.
Oh, look at you.
Emily and Amy. That was in our house that they moved me to. They moved us there, and then meanwhile, in the document, John and Judy decided to go on an overseas holiday. I'll never forget the day they drove off, leaving me shattered. Everyone else astounded. They stole my script, my work, my livelihood, my future. Well, this is all after what, you see, look at the timeline of what those statements are. It's all about, you know, John Hembrow having an affair with Carol White, the timeline of all of that, when he was in hospital, when he was on high medication and other stuff. Anyway, so it all overlapped, and you know, all that hatred and all that stuff that was coming out. This is why this whole expose and this show is about narcissists. This is where people can learn from this show that's going to be made. You know, because it shows them that you have to beware. You know, even if your brother who you love, they could be a narcissist, and they could take you for everything you've got, and then be cruel enough because of jealousies, resentments, all sorts of things that I could never, ever understand until I studied later. So it's really an expose on that. And, you know, everyone said that Judy was behind it all. I mean, their own family have told me that. You know, the three boys are terrific guys, and they're not really involved at the moment. Dale got a little involved when he wrote the letter for Conciliation, which I was grateful for because he knew that. And Craig, well, Craig's now, you know, he's now working for Rayjon and he's now, I think, the managing director or whatever. So it's unfortunate that all that is what it is, and it's the truth of everything that's going on. But hopefully things can be worked out, and Christian conciliation can come to the forefront and be a success. And then John and I and Rayjon, we could actually turn some very, very, very bad circumstances that can be all over the world into something very, very good for everyone. So thank you for asking me about Tons of Beers and John Hembrow and Judy Hembrow and the real world, and that what happened really, because no one really has known, and of course this is an extra day on it all.